I mean from India, if we selected like GPA 4, so what is the supporting for males, and like Saudi Arabia from Department of Computer Science, so how many students are doing masters? So these are the kind of rules I need to check that, and the data I need to get from the college.
Okay, thank you. Next.
The topic I have chosen for the data mining project is the sentimental analysis of the user reviews. So for a particular product, the user gives various types of reviews. It could be a positive review, it could be a negative review, or it could be like a neutral one. You won't be able to judge whether it's a positive or a negative one. So what I'm here to do is, like, I'm going to do the sentimental analysis of all the reviews for a particular product. This would be very helpful for a particular person to make a decision while getting a product, and also we can determine how well a product is doing in the market. So what I have decided to do is first train the training data using the classifiers, and then use that particular model to classify the test data which we are having. So we can use various techniques like bag of words, and also we can use stemming and various other techniques to to eliminate the words that are not required. Like, there are many junk words which are not used, like articles and certain adjectives. So using that, we can actually rule out all the unwanted data, and we can have the count of the positive reviews, a positive count and the negative count and the neutral count, which we are going to just ignore. So this is just a sample database of the raw data of various user reviews for a particular product. So the main idea for this is for for a particular user can decide what he wants to get, and whether it is like, it's a very good product in the market or not. And also we can also check how well the product is doing.
Good evening, friends. I have chosen database for airplane crash data set. So there are many airplane crashes occurring around the world with specific reasons. There are some common reasons which may occur in all the crashes. Like some will be some ignorance in checking the flight before taking off, like in engine failure or some of the other reasons. So I want to find out the trend in like what are the common reasons for the crashes. So reason for choosing this database, we can use tools like Weka or OpenRefine to find the common trends, so that we can create a separate list of reasons to the crashes, and we can suggest the airbase or any other persons responsible for checking the flight before taking off to avoid the crash. And this is a sample data set which I found in a website. This is just a this one has like 35 attributes, and around 95,000 air crashes just occurred because of bird strikes in from past 50 years. So I'm still searching for more databases where data sets where there are other reasons for the airplane crash. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, for this project, what I want to do is to data mining the online. Many people right now nowadays are shopping online, so I want just to do something with the online shopping products. So what I'm trying to do is, for the data source, I will just, instead of some of you guys use some API from the websites to get the data, what I'm trying to do is using a caller program to gather the data, something like price or the product name, and you guys inspired me that I can also just include the product comments into the as some attributes, so I can just data mining the people's opinion towards those products. And I think that I try to data querying. I think that the advantage of that is, although you guys use API to collect those information, but you guys eventually have to do the data cleaning work. So for data cleaning, I can write the code directly, just search the information I want. So it will save me some time for that. And I think pretty much that's it.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Hello everyone. What I'm trying to do with my final project is trying to use the data I have collected to quantify the price of the house. Real estate actually is a house, and to see whether the price is underestimated or is overrated. And there's many factors that can decide the value of the real estate. For example, like the most important, like locations and the neighborhood. And neighborhood can including lot of factors like we can gather them from the owners, their gender, their occupation, their background, their social circles, and then it's called the montage and value ratio that can influence the price of the house. And also I'm going to include with another website which is offering the safety of this area to measure whether there's criminal cases around this neighborhood, and so it also can influence the price. That's it. Thank you.
I want to use Twitter as my final project, data mining, because I am interested in that the relationship between the Twitters on maybe the context. So I just popped my idea, but it's not well recognized that I'm interested in the TV shows. So there's one popular TV show named House of Cards. So it's a politics series TV show. So I think most of people watch the TV show was interested in politics. So I was thinking maybe the Twitter can represent their idea of what party they support. So I have a sample data that I use the @House of Card as a keyword. So I get this is one simple data. So maybe I will use the context and maybe which platform you use. This is iPhone, also the location. So what I want to do is I want to predict the people which party he supports based on their location. So at the maybe 4 years the election time, so we can predict each state which party will get higher support. Also, I think if we get the pattern or also we get the algorithm, then we also can help the present candidates to change their strategies. If in this state their support is lower than other parties, so they can go to their state to persuade more citizens to support them. So that's my simple idea. The problem is that it's not not all the stream has that location part. So maybe a lot of data was not make sense. Also, it's hard to find keywords like positive or negative, which party is supporting.
Okay, thank you so much. So, how do you feel? Have you ever did the lightning talk? You did before?
No.
So actually the 2 minutes or 3 minutes usually. So for the short presentation, sometimes you can use the PPT file, sometimes not. So, but even though that is a very short the presentation, we can say the 2 minutes, 3 minutes is too short to present something, but you can feel sometimes you cannot use the all 2 minutes, or sometimes the less than 2 minutes you can present whatever you want. So it depends on how much you are prepared and whether you know the data or contents itself. Okay, so I believe many of the bad presentation is too long. Okay, so sometimes you lose the direction or the key point of presentation. You can feel the same thing that sometimes the instructor or professor spend a lot of time without point. So if it's not well prepared. Anyway, so from time to time you will encounter such a lightning talk, and I'm going to use because we have many students, so I'm going to use such a lightning talk to present. But this is a good opportunity to. I'm very sorry I should have announced before, but I just after I checked your submission, so I decided the lightning talk. Overall, my comment is if I scale my comment as 0 to 10, the 10 is excellent and 0 is nothing. It will be around 6.5, less than 7, which means it's just above the fail. The main reason I can give the overall 6.5 to you is, any idea?
You weren't prepared.
What is the purpose of the first phase?
What kind of data?
Interest. So do you really interest of the data? Are you interested? Not much, because everything you can imagine, right? So in other words, it's not very creative. Okay, I know this is you are not expertise on the data set, but sometimes the research or even business, you can start from your daily life. So I know many of you guys use Google to find the data set, data mining technique or data mining data set, something like that. Okay, then it will provide you say a data set or the social media data set or some of the list of the topic using the data mining. So you can find I actually quickly summarize. So this is the topic. So this is 5, 10. And the first one is 8 of student in terms of data source. That way. So second is 7. Third one is 3, 2, 2. What will be this one? It is industry data. So I can find many of the industry data, okay, related, for example, logistics and vehicle data, or I include the academic data also, kind of industry, okay, something like that. So industry is the first one. And second, social media data. Okay, we have a lot of the social media data, as we can imagine. So that is the most hard topic. And third one, so I classify as a government data set, including the housing price is probably from the government data. It's open to the public. And what else? So baby name also is from the registration information, right? And this another one, the H-1B visa, right? That is from the government data source. That's also true. Actually, for example, the big data, was triggered by the government. Obama actually announced the funding a lot of money for the big data. Big data coming from the government data, so like including census data or some other like the housing data set, whether we can use such a data for better. But actually the government would like to spend the money to stimulate the economy. But anyway, the government data. And the other two I classify as medical. Medical was very hot the last few years, last decade, but it's a little bit decreased, but still one of the hot area. The other I classify as entertainment, including the gambling and the cigarette. Cigarette I classify as the entertainment for the individual. So, but it's these three definitely, including the medical. Yes, we can imagine the category of the data. So I ask you to focus not the problem definition, not the your objective or the data mining. I didn't ask what kind of the data mining technique you use, what kind of tool you use. Just find whether or not that is possible or feasible. So just find interesting, the creative data set. Or sometimes you can imagine, even though that doesn't exist the real life, so imagine such a data set. So, but that's also important. So anyway we are dealing with the data, okay? So data, if just given, everybody can find such a data, so you cannot survive in that area, okay? You should be very creative to find the data source. It's like the Western era, like the 18th century in United States, whether who will be the first to land on and put the flag, so that will be your land, okay? The data is also the same, so Facebook data and Twitter data, it's even, you can find millions of papers that are published. So everybody can imagine and they are doing. What about something other interesting, or from your daily life, from your expertise? To do that, definitely you should read a lot of books and a lot of the knowledge, so you can get such a knowledge not from just Facebook. You'd better read the magazine or the newspaper, not from only the hashtag information. Or so that's actually you can get the information very quickly, latest one, but you may lose some your critical thinking or some such analytical thinking, analytical knowledge. So when you get such information from the social media. So for the data mining, I believe that your common sense and such a knowledge and experience and the knowledge on history and economy. I surprised one of the things that I expect is a kind of the financial data. Financial data is definitely make the money, and that's the most important one. All of this, if they are not related to make the new money, nobody interested. So I think the financial data is also a very hot topic. So you are thinking anyway. So this is what you select. So I'm going to collect your during the break. I'm going to collect the mark. Then based on the number of marks, so I will select some later. I'm going to select the top 6 to 8 the topics. So then we are going to use such a data set for our further research. But before that, I'd like to have another case. In page 2, using the same data that you select, some of the students already did, but you'd better spend a little bit more time. The two things you guys need to do. First thing is for the selected data. First thing is, so kind of in terms of the academic research, can be called as the problem definition. What you guys can do in terms of data mining, not the database selection. It's not like the database design. So, for example, I'd like to search the most cell the item, you can actually select from the database. It's not analyzing. It's not the data mining issues. Okay. In terms of the data mining issue, what can be analyzed? What is the objective? What is the target of from your data set? Okay. So for example, this like the Twitter data set, for the house of cards. Okay, then whether we can classify the user by the party. Okay, so like the Conservative Party or the Liberal Party or the Democratic Party. So you know the House of Cards is one of the interesting drama. So you can find the trend, whether he is the Republican side using the Twitter information. Okay, that cannot be retrieved using database but that can be mined. So find the interesting. You don't have to worry about right now whether you can mine, you can analyze such a problem. So just the interesting topic from your data set. I know when you select the data set, it can be based on the popularity, but even though you select such a very famous data set, from that, what can be mined. So you can bring as many as possible, but not like the 100, 200, but so think about what can be interesting. For example, so if I were you, so I can ask some of the friends who are related that one. For example, if you collect the university admission data set, I think one of the students are interested in such admission data set. So admission, the student information. One of the very, very hot issue in any university is whether we can predict the retention. Retention rate is very, very important in the future, depending on the retention rate. So you know the retention rate. Retention rate is how many, what is the percentage of the student who proceed the next level, next year. Okay. So UB has the undergraduate program. We have around 60% retention rate, which means 4 out of 10 students actually drop. They leave. That's very critical. So if we have the lower the retention rate, we cannot get the government support or the scholarship. So then how can we decide? Is there any knowledge or the rule or can we classify into two, or can we clustering whether this group definitely continue, this student definitely the drop. So if we can find this group, then we can do something like sending a mail or make something mentor group or give the better grade or whatever. So that is so how can you get such the objective? You should be creative also. You should be the expertise on that database. How can you do that? If you are interested in the vehicle database, what is the issue? So you can ask the domain expertise. Otherwise, there might be limit. You cannot imagine all of that objective. Also, you need to research a lot. So what is the issues in for example, online shopping? What is the current issues to such online shopping? So it's the defining problem is not easy. So why don't you find such a problem? What can be analyzed? Not search. It's not search. So whether what is the problem definition eventually later. So it doesn't have to be formalized. So you don't have to write the mathematical term or whatever. So for example, I'm interested to classify the Twitter user of the House of Cards, okay, using the profile information or the hashtag information, something like that. So several, okay, to define such a problem. That's the one thing. So then you don't have to worry about that can be done or not. If you know the solution, you don't have to do it. So later we will consider whether that can be possible, so or not. So for example, one of my problem is whether the price is gain or loss. If I know, I don't have to be here, right? So, but that can be also possible in this case. That is the first thing. Second thing is whether I can make the data set later. Some of the data are very interesting, but very limited to get such a data. For one of the examples is the medical data set. Because of the privacy issues, so it's very hard to get such a data. Okay, when you find whether the data set is available or not, sometimes you cannot get the data set directly. You need to make the program to collect such a data. For example, one of the students is interested in the online shopping mall, then sometimes you can make the program to collect such a data or crawler program, something like that. So whether you can, how can you get such a data? For example, I can get the data, government data, so it's available, the government website, or sometimes I can ask the government to get such a data. That's possible, but it takes 1 year. Then you cannot do practically in this class. So why don't you find? Also, one more thing, when you research on the collecting such a data, it's not always needed, but you need to think about whether I can get the ground truth. Okay? For example, he's interested in classifying the people, the Republican or Democratic. How can you evaluate? Can you get such the data? So, for example, he has perfect. God knows his algorithm is perfect. He knows that it's perfect. Then, how can you prove whether this guy is a Republican? Then, do you email to him? So, because in the Twitter or any information, there's no the ground truth. So that's very, very critical. But you don't have to be depressed, or you don't have to throw away, even though you cannot get the ground truth. There might be another way or workaround, but sometimes not possible. But so think about whether you can get such a ground truth data. Most of the existing data set, they provide the ground truth, including the UCI data set. Okay. Also, sometimes for the practical purpose, you have a certain attribute, so you can use this attribute, existing attribute, for the ground truth, then try to find this one. Okay, that's also another way. So whether you can get the ground truth data, so you need to find. So two things by the next week. It's the same format as the first page. So you can make the 2 or 3 pages the PPT file. So one page should include the how or what can you analyze for using your data set, and the second thing is how can you get such a data, okay, including the ground truth. Okay, so it's for the next page. Okay. Any questions? Okay.
Professor,
Yes.
the second thing that you said, that from where can we get the data?
How?
How can
Yes.
we get the data? But if we search on any sites like UCI, we are not sure whether they're actual data or they are manipulated data or something like that. So even should it be a real data set, or what should it be?
UCI data set they provide is already evaluated, and somebody already used that data, and after their project they upload, they contribute. Okay, so you can use the UCI data set, but in this class, so you don't have to stick on such an existing data set. But for that, your interest, based on your interest, if you can find such a data set from the UCI, it's okay. Okay, so but you'd better finding a different way or your own way, creative way. Okay, sometimes So you can, sometimes it is true, it is possible to collect the data in United States because of the privacy reason, but one of the students in my big data course, the student bring the customer call center data from his country, his old company. So he asked his friend to send some data. So I'm not sure whether that is possible, but the company actually. It's not very strict for such a privacy in his country, so he used such a data set. So why don't you think about how to get the collectors or how to make, so like using programming or something. So many of the social media data, they provide the API to access some, not all attributes you can access, some limited information you can collect. Then at the time, for example, Facebook provides some APIs. So then using Python, we can make the program to collect the data, something like that. And at the same time, think about how can we get the ground truth. Yes?
Professor, from our experience with the first lab.
First?
Lab 1.
Or lab 1? Oh, the Weka you mean? Yes.
There are like many data sets. We cannot use it in Weka. Like
because of the different format?
Yes.
So at that time you need to change the format, like the comma separate?
It's not about format, it's about the data itself. Because for like a priori algorithm.
Oh yes, that's also true. So that's the reason you need to find the appropriate data set that works with the a priori.
Now, for our project, do we have the same data that we have to like reformat it or?
No.
No.
So right now you don't have to worry about the processing yet.
Okay.
So that is the reason among the data set we are going to select based on the interest, also based on the feasibility, possibility, we will select some of the data set in our project. Also, I'm thinking the final implementation based on using the R programming, okay? But I don't decide whether we stick on the R programming or any other programming, okay? So that will be decided later, okay? But throughout the semester, you think that this pace, we are getting close, getting familiar with the data and the data set, okay? And one more thing is the last weekend, I tested the one interesting, the task that is the 3D printer. Is there anyone who used the 3D printer? Fortunately, UB at the School of Engineering purchased the 3D printer. It's not very expensive one. It's medium low level. It's around 2,000, 3,000, which is cheap in the 3D printer. One of them is just 1,000. So using that one, do you think what is this? This is a graph. Actually, this is a graph. It's a 3D graph. It's not the Gaussian distribution. I forgot the name of